Hello, everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is Election Edge Thursday's edition, 6 o'clock on the East, 3 o'clock out West. And before we get into the politics of the day, I do want to make an announcement. We had David Harris Jr. was going to be on the show with us today, but the hurricane actually got us because part of our production staff is in Florida, and a tornado literally was going down the street. They had to evacuate. So I want to thank Austin, our backup producer today, for helping us deliver the show to you live, and we'll get David Harris back next week. If it's Thursday, Cameron Moore, welcome back to Election Edge. Happy to have you with me today. Listen, that interview last night with Stephanie Ruhle, and we're going to play a clip of it here shortly, was an unmitigated disaster. And when you look at and just watch it, this comes on the heels of some other interviews. It is not surprising to me whatsoever, Cameron, that she has taken an approach to avoid all media interviews as best she could and not do any press conferences. I mean, the American public are starting to see through this, Cameron. And even Stephanie Ruhle, who previously still supports Kamala Harris, didn't really question her dodging the media strategy. She came out after the interview and said, the woman does not answer direct questions. Cameron, you've seen parts of that interview. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, Mark, she answers the question the same way every time, which is not answering the question. She's the queen of deflection. She'll start getting into what a reporter last night called drunken Hallmark talk, which is essentially the American dream, this, American dream, that. Like, Kamala, how do you plan on fixing our economy? Well, I grew up in this middle class household, and my mom bought a house when I was in junior high, and that's a response to everything. It's becoming absolutely ridiculous. So we know she didn't grow up in a middle class household. She has two parents, both with PhDs. She went to an extremely exclusive private school, and she grew up in an affluent but extremely liberal city of Berkeley, California.
Yeah, it's astonishing. I mean, I'm going to give you a direct quote here. She said, we need to move past the failed policies in November. I mean, it's her policies and Joe Biden's policies. And Cameron, one thing I think is happening, she is now starting to be associated almost sticky like glue to Joe Biden. Yes, when Biden was kicked out of the race, forced out of the race, despite what he said yesterday or the day before, we all know he was forced out. So now this nice, shiny, flashy object comes out there. They raise hundreds of millions of dollars. They have a coronation at the convention. She's riding high. And then all of a sudden, it's time to come back to earth. The Harris honeymoon ends. And right now, this race is Donald Trump's to lose. Mr. Producer, can you key up the, I believe it's a Fox News clip that actually, in her own words, describes the Biden administration?
Now, look, my opponent, Donald Trump, well, he makes big promises on manufacturing. Just yesterday, he went out and promised to bring back manufacturing jobs. And if that sounds familiar, it should. In 2016, he went out and made that very same promise about the Carrier plant in Indianapolis. You'll remember, Carrier then offshored hundreds of jobs to Mexico under his watch. And it wasn't just there. On Trump's watch, offshoring went up and manufacturing jobs went down across our country and across our economy. All told, almost 200,000 manufacturing jobs were lost during his presidency, starting before the pandemic hit, making Trump one of the biggest losers ever on manufacturing.
Folks, that is just a flat out lie, what she just said. Donald Trump, prior to the pandemic, created 450,000 jobs, not negative 200,000 as she stated. So when you hear a comment like that, excuse me, it's just flat out not true. I mean, you can look at the numbers. And it's just amazing to me that the people in that room, the Economic Club of Pittsburgh, were so ill-informed, Cameron. I mean, to applaud lines like that, Harris's economic policies call for taxing unrealized capital gains, a command and control economy related to food, that's really going to go over well, giving $25,000 to first-time home buyers to try to solve a housing crisis. And then Cameron, when Stephanie Ruhle asked her a question about, well, you're likely going to be facing a Republican Senate. How do you plan to pay for this if the Senate doesn't pass the funds needed? And Cameron, what was her answer? Well, we've got to do it. Cameron, it's almost embarrassing that she's a major party candidate.
Well, her plan is just to probably just print more money, because that's what they've been doing this whole entire time. Talking about, it's complete lies about Donald Trump and the manufacturing. With Trump, we know that it's promises made, promises kept. He sanctioned all these countries in order to bring manufacturing back in the United States, bring these jobs back in the United States. And under Kamala, we know that these jobs are all going to end up where? Probably China. So Donald Trump's going to get our community thriving, our country thriving, by bringing these jobs back and having other countries pay for it.
Yeah, and listen, let me not kid yourself here, folks. Kamala Harris's spending plans would cost $1.7 trillion. Our country is already running a $2 trillion deficit. We are $35 trillion in debt. And right now, the interest payments on the national debt exceed the military budget. They exceed Medicare. They exceed Social Security. Think about that, folks. The interest on the debt is now greater than Medicare, greater than Social Security, greater than defense spending. And what does she want to do? She wants to raise the corporate tax rate, and everybody knows all the corporations will do is pass that on, which will result in higher prices to an economy that's already absorbed 21% inflation in the 3.5 years they've been in office. No wonder, and I'm going to repeat this quote. She said, we need to move past policy failures in November. That is a self-indictment of her and Biden, and the Trump campaign should be playing that everywhere they possibly could. Another thing, Cameron, that was really interesting, Stephanie Ruhle, who, again, a liberal journalist, MSNBC, she came out after the interview and said she is not ready to be in the Oval Office. That's a stark comment from someone who just a week ago was saying, well, she really doesn't have to do these debates and she doesn't really need to do the interviews. Cameron, I've got a sneaking suspicion the following is what's going on here. And we'll talk about these poll numbers a little bit later. I think she's losing. And I think she realizes on her own internal polling that she's losing. She can't answer the basic question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Cameron, what do you make of this? I mean, I know we talk about it, but this is really good stuff for Donald Trump. And boy, again, it's just amazing to me that she's even this close to Trump.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call that host, that interviewer, a journalist. I mean, she's a talk show host. She's not. She doesn't have a journalistic integrity, But for her to turn on Kamala is pretty telling. We all know that every time this is the same playbook as Joe Biden in 2020. Put him in the basement, hide her, because every time she speaks, she loses more votes. She loses interest in the country, and the polling goes more for President Trump. So it's not working out for them. I don't know how much longer they can hide her, to be honest. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Cameron, they may end up having to do a press conference just out of shame. I mean, look, she's going to Arizona tomorrow to the southern border. The only reason she's going to that border is because her internal polling, folks, tells her in the campaign she's very vulnerable on the illegal immigration issue. No kidding. Somewhere, depending upon what number you believe, here at Election Edge, we believe it's somewhere around 12 million illegal immigrants have come in under Harris and Biden. Trump says it's closer to 20, and who knows what the real number is. I do know this, though, because we've welcomed 12 million or more illegal immigrants into the country. A big chunk of them have taken jobs. A big chunk of them have to be housed somewhere. That's contributed to our housing shortage in this country. It's contributing at the lower end to wages not going up, wages actually stagnating. And if you're in a low wage job and you're not getting increases, and the cost of living goes up 21%, you have a problem. And what is Harris' solution? They come up with nothing. So even the prestigious Wharton School of Business has said her economic plans are disastrous. So, folks, when you think about this, I mean, mass amnesty, she actually in the interview with Stephanie Ruhle, Cameron, said we need amnesty for illegals and we need a path to citizenship for them. Cameron, I mean, I've heard some bad economic policies, but the immigration policies may even be worse.
Amnesty for illegals. I mean, it's unbelievable. Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for all this? We're already struggling at the grocery store. We're already struggling at the pump. Or look at our 401ks. You know, we are, as a taxpayer, are going to be paying for these illegal immigrants. She's also stated that she wants to give the illegal immigrants sex changes. Really, gender affirming care and sex changes, along with prisoners. Let's not forget she wants to give prisoners sex changes as well. So you get your big Bubba in the male dorm, and then change his parts up a little bit, put him in with the females. How's that going to work out? This is all a complete disaster, and it's not what America wants, and it's not what America needs right now.
Cameron, I never thought I would. I didn't think I would see the day when we'd be talking on an election political show about the fact that the Democratic nominee for president, actually, you're 100% right, has advocated sex change operations for prisoners. I mean, folks, the absurdity of this just on the surface will blow your mind. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're at the mid-break time here. But when we come back, we have so much more to dive into related to the interview and what's really happening. Trump is winning this election, folks, and we're going to dive into it. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to thepatriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to thepatriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now. Don't let them win. Patriot TV is committed to delivering the truth. America's new network for patriots is growing fast, and we'd love you to join us as a member of Patriot TV. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver unbiased reporting, thought-provoking discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. From in-depth interviews to behind-the-scenes footage, Patriot TV brings you closer to the voices shaping our nation's future. Whether it's political developments, cultural shifts, or global affairs, Patriot TV keeps you informed and empowered. As a member of Patriot TV, you'll get perks like personal invitations to exclusive Patriot TV events, where you can gather and network with like-minded Americans. We'll also host online events throughout the year with General Flynn, who's committed to host live Q&A webinars where callers like you can ask him questions and get real answers. Access to these events will be members only. So, go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. We have a great membership option starting at just $9.99 a month, or save with our annual membership for only $99, or take advantage of the best value, the 2-year membership for just $159. Go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. Do your part to make sure the truth gets out to all patriots and help ensure future programming. Become a member today. Just go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member, join today.
And we're back. Hey, folks, like I tell you, I've got my donor deck here, Munchcoin. Folks, scroll down, click on Election Edge. Whether you buy 1, 10, or 100, when Trump wins this election, these are going to be keepsakes. And if you give them away to your friends, office gifts, Christmas, you name it, people are really going to enjoy it. Nice stuff here. And pick up 5 or 10 donor decks. You'll love them. All right, listen, Cameron, we're back. Trump was pounding Harris today. He was in New York, and he gave what he always does, access to the press. Came on literally right before Election Edge, and he literally was pounding her position on the border ahead of that Arizona trip tomorrow. Cameron, this is great optics for President Trump, seeing her having to go down to that border. I mean, 67, 68 days, no news conference. Trump's out there doing them every day. Cameron, it's got to make you feel pretty good about Trump's position on the border right now.
Yes, it does. And it makes me wonder how they're going to try to frame this with Kamala at the border. Are they going to put her in front of a piece of the border wall showing it's secure? Or are they going to show the real situation with a bunch of illegal immigrants running across the border for their green cards and paychecks? This seems to be nothing more than a photo op for Kamala. I can't imagine it lasts long, and I can't imagine her taking any questions from any reliable source down there. So it's optics, and it's just going to be bad optics, I think, at the end of the day.
I found it interesting, Cameron. I almost think this helps Trump, having her down there at the border. I mean, it's going to illustrate the point Trump's been making that, she was the border czar. Under her and Biden, we literally have transformed the country. I mean, whether it's 12 on the low side, 20 on the high side, as Trump says, I mean, this country has been transformed over the past 4 years, and it's just astounding. So she's going to be down there, and we'll see how it plays out. But I got to believe her being at the border is probably going to help Trump, because it's going to remind people that she was the border czar, and Biden's policy, again, she was VP, so it didn't work out. It's creating massive problems in our country. Whether you talk about the Venezuelan gangs in Colorado, or look what happened to Eric Adams in New York City. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But here again, everyday Americans all over the country are being impacted by this massive illegal immigration that's happened in our country. What does she want to do, Cameron? Path to citizenship, give them citizenship. That means right to vote, forgiveness of anything they've done. What does Trump want to do? He wants to deport them. Now, he's not going to do, I know he's talking about mass deportation, but realistically, if Trump could halt the flow of illegal immigration, build the wall, get criminals out of the country, that would be a step in the right direction, Cameron. And I think the American people would applaud that action.
Yes. I mean, I don't even think we've seen the worst of it inside of our borders. I know General Flynn has mentioned we have sleeper cells that are live inside of our borders. We don't know who's coming across. We have people from not friendly countries that are inside our borders right now. We saw a piece of it with Denver, and there was another location I don't recall. I think it might have been Chicago. But I think all these hotels are full in New York. We're seeing the crime there. there does need to be a mass deportation because we have unvetted people inside of our borders. We have no clue where they came from and no clue what they're capable of. And we are in a very dangerous position in our country, and I think we'll probably see this ramp up more as we get closer to the election.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Cameron. And let's talk about Eric Adams for just a minute. He's the mayor of New York City. And folks, you may be shocked about what you're getting ready to hear here, because I'm not Eric Adams and I are not on the same fence politically, but I'll share this with you. After listening to those charges against him today, they sound bogus as hell. I mean, the stuff they're accusing him of doing about favors from Turkey and hotel rooms and getting cash and innuendos, it almost looks to me like it was a setup. And some of this stuff goes back years. I mean, it may even be past the statute of limitations. So far be it from me on Election Edge to defend Eric Adams. But if you think about it, folks, Eric Adams has been a persistent critic of the Biden-Harris administration over their handling of illegal immigration. And again, as Cameron, my partner, just said, look, hotels are filled up in New York. They're having to spend money on education. What was it, Cameron? It's like $5 billion that New York City alone had to spend on illegal immigrants. Look, part of it's their own fault because they're a sanctuary city where all these, not all, but a lot of the illegals are going to these sanctuary cities. So, Cameron, does it shock you? Eric Adams comes out and over the past, 3 or 4 months, he's been critical of the Biden administration. And lo and behold, here we are 40 days from an election, and one of the most prominent Democrats in the country gets indicted for corruption. I mean, to me, this whole thing just smells.
Well, he's had no problem destroying New York City, and I know he's come back and been anti-legal immigrant lately. They're going after him for taking payments for his campaign in other areas with Hungary. I don't know. I can't really delve into what's in there. I find it really curious, the timing of this indictment. I know the people of New York City deserve a hell of a lot better than what they have with their streets flooded with illegal immigrants and in dangerous situations where they're scared to walk down the street. So I guess we'll have to see how this plays out with Eric Adams. Who knows?
Yeah, you're right about that. But again, I don't blame Eric Adams for the illegal immigration problem in New York. I blame Biden and Harris, specifically Harris. She was one tasked with solving the problem, and she made it absolutely worse. So, I mean, I'm not trying to sympathize with Eric Adams, but, if you dump all the illegal immigrants into a city like New York that already had all kind of major problems, I don't know. I mean, I guess our message here on Election Edge is, let's not jump to conclusions that Eric Adams is guilty. Let's let the legal process play itself out. Let's see what happens here. I just have my suspicions, Cameron. I mean, this thing did he do some things wrong? Possibly. But boy, the timing of this, 40 days before a presidential election, with Trump just pounding mercilessly on Harris every day over the illegal immigrants, Adams criticizing the federal government for not picking up the tab. I don't know. Something's not right. And normally, when there's a Democrat involved, there's always something political behind it. All right. So, that's the Eric Adams story. That's the illegal immigration piece. I want to shift a little bit here to Ron Johnson in the United States Senate and senator from Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal. Cameron, this FBI and the Secret Service, when two United States senators of different political parties says the FBI and the Secret Service are stonewalling the investigation, that cannot give us any comfort. Cameron, I know you're on top of this stuff related to the assassination attempt. What do you make of what's going on here related to these investigations?
I don't know why they're stonewalling it. It's time to just open the kimono and see everything that's underneath it. To me, it's the stonewalling is probably because the intelligence agencies are complicit, including Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security, which his job is to protect President Trump as well. He's the biggest swamp creature of them all. So I think it's just they're protecting themselves and afraid of the information that could potentially come out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. You know, one thing I'm comforted to know is that particularly in Florida, Ron DeSantis has said the state of Florida is going to do its own investigation. You know, over the over the golf course, you know, attempt on Trump's life. And fortunately, folks, in Palm Beach County, the sitting sheriff, been there quite a while. He runs a good ship down there in Palm Beach County. His name is Rick Bradshaw. So he's up for re-election. He'll probably win decisively. So I am confident in the state of Florida and Palm Beach County. But the FBI and Secret Service, I mean, we've had a lot of changes. But, folks, some of this stuff that's coming out is just, you just can't. It's incredulous that, A, the guy could have got on the roof, B, that he was spotted, C, apparently he was known to authorities. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be shocking, you know, as this stuff ends up coming out. And I don't know, Cameron, you know, there have been 2 attempts on Trump's life. Trump's leading in the polls and a lot of polling right now, particularly in swing states. And Cameron, we already talked about this. About a third of Democrats wish either one of those guys had been successful in knocking Trump out. This is, we need to be careful here. I mean, Trump's going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, I believe on October 5th. Won't that be a sight? Cameron, you got to hand it to Trump. I mean, nothing stops this guy.
No, he's returning to the scene of the crime and showing the people who he is. He is going back to Butler and saying, we're going to continue this because the people of Butler deserve to see him. So I think we haven't seen the end of the assassination attempts on the president. God willing that it's done. But Iran has been very vocal, putting out propaganda inside their local communities. About another attack. I think President Trump needs to be careful. I believe he does have a good security team, and I believe he has got good Secret Service around him. You know, what are they going to go after next? His plane? I don't think we've seen the end of this. They want him gone. And, you know, Hollywood and the media are not helping put out this hateful rhetoric, including that letter. That letter they put out was really interesting with the $150,000 bounty on President Trump's head. I don't think that shooter had the ability to pay that $150,000 bounty. Who does? These are questions that all need to be answered.
Very good questions, Cameron. I'm glad you brought that up. And Cameron, don't you find it a little ironic? Here, the president of Iran is in the United States getting adequate protection, and yet we know, well, we don't know. We've been advised by Matt Gaetz and people in Department of Homeland Security, there could be upwards of 5 hit squads from Iran targeting President Trump. And Cameron, here's an interesting thing too. They're not just targeting President Trump. They're targeting people in his administration, General Milley, Secretary Pompeo, Ambassador Bolton, and a handful of others. There's like 5 or 6 people in the Trump administration who the Iranians have openly targeted for assassination. So, you know, we have to be really, really ultra careful because, look, the Secret Service has spread. Everybody can't get 24/7 protection. I mean, they don't have the resources for it. So, Cameron, you brought up a great point there. Let's hope that our leaders are protected. All right, we're going to take our break now. But when we come back, we're diving into a little bit of those poll numbers. We're going to tell you what suburban women are thinking. And folks, these numbers are looking very good for President Trump.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's showing up more energy, more get up and go. And it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Hey folks, scroll down and click on Election Edge, click our banner, and if you do, you're going to get 10% off on Cardio Miracle. I got to tell you, I saw my cardiologist today, gave me a clean bill of health. I started taking this. Try it, folks. Cardio, it works. Everything good. All right, Cameron, we're back. Listen, I'm going to get into some of these swing state voters because there's been some surveys out. And 70% of suburban women do not trust Kamala Harris on what she's stating about the economy. That's a pretty big number. And what they're saying, Cameron, is, listen, I don't like Trump's personality. I think the way he talks, I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. But you know what? When Trump was president, we had money in our pockets. We didn't have inflation. The world was relatively peaceful, and they're looking at this situation now saying, okay, under Harris and Biden, 21% inflation, elevated prices, they're not going down. And Cameron, I'm starting to think that, they just can't trust the Democrats anymore. I mean, what are you hearing? You travel around the country quite a bit. What are you seeing out there?
Well, the tide's turning, and if the suburban women don't trust Kamala, it's for a good reason, because she's not trustworthy. She lies, she flip-flops, and there's really no economic plan behind it. And I believe people are going to vote with their pocketbook. And as we progress, I think more people are going to come down and vote for Trump and start seeing Kamala for who she is. I don't think that interview last night did any good for Kamala. I think it hurt her. I think they knew it hurt her. And people are watching. So I think they just need to push her back in the corner and hide her some more if they want to have any shot at this.
It's really interesting, Cameron, because, the gross domestic product figures were finalized today for the second quarter, and it showed 3% growth. Excuse me. Now, if this economy was really growing 3%, why would the economy be the number one issue? And I think the answer to that question is, yeah, the economy may be growing, but we're still sitting here today staring at 2.5 to 2 3/4, almost 3% inflation. And that's on top of the 21%. So, Cameron, if you're in that bottom 50% of the economic ladder and your wages have not gone up 21%, you're falling behind. And I believe, Cameron, that's the crux of the issue here. Not that the certain segments of the economy are good. Yes, by definition, we know certain segments are good. But aggregately, when you put it all together, Cameron, when I hear the Treasury Secretary talking about things that have to happen, interest rates coming down, soft landing, there's a lot of Americans that are not experiencing soft landing. It's a hard landing, particularly those in the bottom half of the economy. And Cameron, you sent me a video of Gina Raimondo. Look, she's the former governor of Rhode Island. She's a fairly smart person. She gets on and in an interview, Cameron says, well, we need to eliminate Trump. And then the person asking the question says, you tried to clean it up for him. saying, "Oh, you mean to eliminate him politically, right?" Because here, have been 2 assassination attempts, and Trump is, asking the Democrats, stop the nonsense. And yet a smart person, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, says, we need to eliminate Trump. And then she goes on to say, well, we need to bury him politically. Cameron, these are dangerous words. And, with all those crazy Democrats out there, they listen to what these politicians have to say.
Yeah, the word she used specifically was extinguish Trump.
Extinguish.
Yeah, why would you even say that? They're slipping all over this place. They're accusing Trump and the right of using hateful rhetoric, and this is the party of projection. They're accusing others of what they are doing themselves. The Republicans just want to get our country back, to get our economy back, and then the left is just out there just saying bury Trump. And Kamala was on The View the other day, I believe, when Oprah, they're all the same to me, Whoopi said she wants to smash her or to smash him like an annoying bug. And then Joe Biden takes his fist and goes, so it was Biden on the show, not Kamala, right? And so they're talking about squishing Biden like a Trump like a bug. This is so much hate and so much anger and so much violence. Let's just calm our jets and let's let the American people decide who's going to win this election come November 5th.
You could not put it better than that, Cameron. I'm in your camp 100%. Look, folks, yes, it's a hot political campaign. We get that, but we don't need to be using some of this language that's out there. It's bad. All right, I want to talk about a couple other things, and I want to tie this in internationally before we get into these polling. Cameron, you were sharing with me that right before we came on air today, news came out that apparently Trump is going to meet with Zelensky. They're both in New York. So, Cameron, what do you make of this? Biden came out and gave another $8 billion to Ukraine for advanced weapons, but they're still not giving them the long-range weapons that can strike deep inside Russia. But these weapons now will extend further than Ukraine has been able to go before.
Well, yes, I think this news is new. Inside the last 30, 45 minutes that Trump announced he's going to be meeting with them, whether it'll be public or not, I do not know. I think it's great. President Trump has said numerous times that even before he takes office, he's going to bring us to peace and solve this World War III crisis we're at. He's made mention many times that he's going to do it inside 24 hours. So hopefully this meeting with Zelensky is going to help bring some peace and resolution to the conflict between Putin and Zelensky and prevent stopping us from going to war. And we're sending far too much money to Ukraine, far too much money. You have to go back and look what happened. Look at those people in Lahaina, Hawaii. They lost all their land. They lost all their businesses. And what did they get? $700 a person. Yet we sent, $175 billion to Ukraine? We need to take care of our own people before we go take care of other countries. And Lord knows where that money's going to Ukraine. I think it's probably the biggest money laundering operation our country's ever seen.
Yeah, I hope that meeting goes well because, for the Biden administration to put this lie out there that somehow Ukraine is going to defeat Russia, folks, they're operating right now with 20% of their electric grid. Okay. The Russians have suffered horrific losses. Cameron, we've seen reports they've lost north of 600,000 soldiers killed or wounded. Ukraine suffered a heavy toll too. I would think that meeting with Trump and Zelensky, regardless of how you feel about aid to Ukraine, if Trump is elected and he somehow can insert himself into the negotiations and at least bring some semblance of stability and maybe a resolution of this, Biden's had 2 years to deal with it and Harris, and they've done nothing. If anything, it's gotten worse. So I applaud Trump for doing this. And frankly, I think it's a good thing that he's doing it. All right. Another thing that came up. Yeah, go ahead, Cameron, please.
Yeah, I mean, the man wrote the deal. He's brought peace. He was the only one that crossed the lines in North Korea, the militarized zone. And I think he's going to get Zelensky into a place of submission, and I think we're going to see a positive result from it. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're fine now. And look, speaking of international too, it's not just Russia, Ukraine, but we have a very dangerous situation now on the Lebanon-Israel border to the north. I mean, Israel has taken out 2,000 Hezbollah targets. And Cameron, I'm getting the distinct impression that despite, quote, the U.S. and 21 allies requesting a 21-day ceasefire so they can negotiate it, why in the world would Israel think about doing that when they have Hezbollah, I don't want to say on the ropes because that would not be true, but they've taken out 2,000 positions, destroyed countless weapons sites, killed numerous Hezbollah officials, and at some point, and I think the Israelis have finally said, enough is enough. We're not going to take this anymore. Cameron, I mean, despite the U.S. efforts to say ceasefire, and the allies, it doesn't appear Netanyahu's having any of this, and he's going to be speaking, I think, tomorrow at the United Nations.
Israel will not be letting up. They will not be letting in. Lebanon, they have 100 of their hostages they haven't even released. If you're going to talk peace, a ceasefire, how about release their hostages? We're nowhere near a ceasefire. Israel's getting bombed all the time, and they're a strong, smart, resilient people. And this is the Holy Land. And I believe the man upstairs is looking down at Israel, and Israel will prevail at the end. But we need to get those hostages back first and foremost.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody wants to see that. But again, when I see Harris stand up there and say, well, we have to have a two-state solution. How do you have a two-state solution when neither Hamas or Israel want it? And when you have Hezbollah and Hamas that want to destroy Israel, how do you have a two-state solution? That's never going to work, and neither side wants it. And to me, Harris looks like a fool when she proposes things like that. Again, this is just another example. I'm going to tell you something anecdotally, folks. Last couple of days, I've met with a lot of friends of mine, Jewish friends of mine. And finally our conversation turned political. They watch Election Edge. And I asked them, I said, okay, who are you going to vote for? And almost to a person, they're voting for Trump. And the commentary went like this. Boy, I don't like his personality. I don't like a lot of his policies, this, and the other thing. Well, one thing that man did more than any president in my lifetime, he was very good to Israel. And when I heard that, I'm like, and so that's the issue you're going to vote for, Mark? To a person, they all said yes. So again, very anecdotal, specific to one area, but again, I did like hearing what was said there. So, all right, look, I'm a little past the break. We're going to take our final break, and then Cameron and I are going to get into these polling things. Paul Pelosi, he's at it again. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Don't let them win. Patriot TV is committed to delivering the truth. America's new network for patriots is growing fast, and we'd love you to join us as a member of Patriot TV. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver unbiased reporting, thought-provoking discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. From in-depth interviews to behind-the-scenes footage, Patriot TV brings you closer to the voices shaping our nation's future. Whether it's political developments, cultural shifts, or global affairs, Patriot TV keeps you informed and empowered. As a member of Patriot TV, you'll get perks like personal invitations to exclusive Patriot TV events, where you can gather and network with like-minded Americans. We'll also host online events throughout the year with General Flynn, who's committed to host live Q&A webinars where callers like you can ask him questions and get real answers. Access to these events will be members only, so go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. We have a great membership option starting at just $9.99 a month, or save with our annual membership for only $99, or take advantage of the best value, the 2-year membership for just $159. Go to patriot.tv, Click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. Do your part to make sure the truth gets out to all patriots and help ensure future programming. Become a member today. Just go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member, join today. The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to the patriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to the patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
And we're back. Don't forget, folks, scroll down, click on Election Edge. You can get the Donor Deck, you can get Cardio Mobile, and you can become a Patriot Defender. We've got 30% off on that right now. It's an unbelievable deal. All right, Cameron, news broke over the past 48 hours that Paul Pelosi's up to it again. No sooner had Paul Pelosi sold shares in Visa than the U.S. government comes down with an action against Visa. Cameron, I think Donald Trump had something to say about this today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was calling out the Pelosi's for insider trading, which they're notoriously known for, selling Visa stock, and then something happening a day after. I mean, come on, this is crazy. I remember when I had a little run-in with Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco, I actually confronted her about her insider trading, about her buying semiconductors in Taiwan, and she really didn't have an answer for it. I think this is what they fear the most. They're going to be held accountable when President Trump comes back into office, and they're going to have to pay.
Yeah, and you know what? Trump knows where the bodies are buried this time, and he's not going to have to go through and learn the system and kowtow to the James Comeys of the world. I mean, they are fearful. I think that's the optimal comment, Cameron. They're fearful of Trump coming back. And when you hear all this crap, oh, he's a threat to democracy. Yeah, you're damn right he's a threat to democracy. The democracy of the people, the Democrats and the special interest and the insiders and the deep state who are afraid of losing their power. Look, does anyone really believe Joe Biden's running this country right now? I don't. And whether it's Barack Obama, whether it's Jill Biden, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Susan Rice, or whomever, we know it's not Joe Biden. So, all right, before we get into a little polling, CNN has a pretty good polling analyst. Harry, I think Enton's his name. We've got a clip queued up here, a warning sign for Kamala Harris. Mr. Producer, if you could play that clip, I think it'll be apropos for what we're going to talk about here.
Race is tight between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. What does popularity have to do with it? The choice for the president and being well-liked. Do they go hand in hand? Is there a connection? CNN's Harry Enton's been looking into that.
Hand in hand.
I didn't mean, you don't need to be literal.
Okay, fine.
Except literally trying to explain what you're looking into today. Explain.
All right, so, this to me is one of the most fascinating dynamics throughout this presidential campaign. We have spoken about Kamala Harris's popularity and how it has taken off, right? So this is the net favorability rating. And look, Harris is more popular than Donald Trump, right? If we're looking across an average of polls, Harris's net favorability is plus 1 point in positive territory. Donald Trump is still in negative territory when it comes to his net favorability at minus 9 points. You'd look at this and you'd say to yourself, oh, Kamala Harris should be well ahead in this race. But that CNN poll out yesterday had Harris up by just a point. The Quinnipiac University poll that was out yesterday showed something very similar. So the bottom line here is that Kamala Harris is in positive territory. She's clearly better liked by Donald Trump. But yet, we have a very close horse race on our hands.
So popularity can mean different things.
Yes. All right. So Donald Trump, personally, not very beloved, right? This is something we've heard from a lot of his supporters, that maybe they don't love him personally, but they like the job that he did as president. So we talk about popularity. We're often talking about favorability ratings, but how about approval ratings? How about approval ratings thinking that he did a good job in his presidency?
I think people confuse that often.
I think people confuse it very often. Look at this. Think his presidency was a success. Donald Trump, 51%, the majority think his presidency was a success, despite his personal popularity being meh. Look at this for Joe Biden, way down at 37%. I think that this is a real drag on Kamala Harris, despite her own personal popularity, while Donald Trump, with thinking his presidency is a success, I think the net favorability ratings don't actually get into the fact that there are a lot of folks who like the job he did as president, but don't necessarily like him personally.
Okay, Joe Biden no longer on the ballot, but what does history show about his unpopularity and the impact it can have?
Exactly. So take a look here. There's only 3 examples going back. The successor was the successor of the same party when the net approval rating was negative at this point in the cycle, right? As Joe Biden was.
So maybe I misstated. Not popularity, approval.
Approval.
Okay.
So here we go. George W. Bush, obviously a Republican, didn't succeed him. Lyndon Johnson, there was no Democrat who succeeded him. Harry Truman, no Democrat who succeeded him. Now we're looking at Joe Biden. Can a Democrat succeed him despite his net approval rating being as low as it is? History isn't so kind. But again, we're really just looking at a sample size of 3. But the bottom line is, I think we can say Joe Biden is a drag on Kamala Harris, despite her own popularity, at least measured through net favorability.
So going forward, we can make a distinction and should dig into it when we're talking about popularity. Are we talking about approval, job performance, or favorability? How people feel about the
Exactly.
president?
One favors Kamala Harris, the net favorability ratings. The approval ratings, I think, favor Donald Trump, given that you have 51% who think his presidency was a success.
Cameron, pretty stark numbers there. It sort of echoes what we've been talking about on Election Edge today. Donald Trump may not be as popular, but boy, his policies are. And that is what's driving Trump into the lead right now. How do you see it right now? You've seen these polls, and as an example, Cameron, today Rasmussen came out. Their number hasn't changed week to week. Donald Trump +2. In swing states, Trump was up in 3 of the swing states. Now, in Rasmussen's poll now, he's tied in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, up in Arizona. But Cameron, one thing, and Rasmussen has done a good job of this, along with Trafalgar and Insider Advantage, they're able to locate those Trump voters. But Cameron, it sure looks to me like if the election were held today, all the momentum is with Trump. I think if the election were held today, he would win.
Of course. I mean, this is the first I've seen this favorability ranking. What is it? I mean, -9, President Trump. I'm here in liberal California. I don't really think California's liberal. I think we're going to flip it red. But, I have not walked down the street and seen a single Biden-Harris hat walking around anywhere. You see MAGA hats, you see people on the streets with their flags everywhere, people with their hats on. This favorability ranking is a whole bunch of nothing, and it's a big lie. 75% of this country, I believe, is for President Trump, and I think the voting will reflect that. But the poll numbers, yeah, our country wants to get back to where we once were. That 51%, I think, should be a lot higher. Hopefully, a lot of these people can drop the Trump derangement syndrome and vote with facts over their feelings come this election cycle. Most of this country's for Trump, and more are waking up every single day with their pocketbooks being hit and all the crime that's coming up. So America's behind Trump, and I think we still have another month to go, but I think he's going to increase even more in the polls as we progress.
Yeah, he has been getting some very good momentum lately, and I think it's through 2 combinations. One, Trump performs better than he polls, and that's just a fact, folks. And we look at where he is right now. The Real Clear Politics has Harris up 2 points. In the critical swing states, Trump's up anywhere from 1/10 to 0.2%. Those are polling averages. But recent data, as the analyst at CNN made reference, and we've seen from other polling outfits, in these 7 swing states, Trump is making progress. In poll after poll, North Carolina, He's led in all but one poll. One was tied and he was behind in one. In Pennsylvania, out of the last 20 polls, he's been up in like 15 of them. Georgia, he's pulled out to maybe a 3 or 4 point lead. So again, as you go through these numbers, again, we're not trying to rely on them, but it's a snapshot in time. But the momentum seems to be in Trump's favor. Her inability to answer the basic fundamental question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago, will continue to haunt her. And Cameron, again, why is she going to the southern border? Because she's behind. Why does she want another debate? Because she's behind. Look, you can talk about these public polls all you want. The internal polling of Trump and Harris, it's a different story. And I got to believe right now it's looking good. Just today, for example, Marist poll came out. Not exactly a conservative poll. Cameron, they had Trump 50, Harris 49, and Trump was up 1 point in Georgia, Arizona, tied in Carolina. So, Cameron, I would submit this to you. If he loses the national popular vote by 1.5 points or less, or wins it, you're talking about Trump getting north of 300 electoral votes. Got about a minute left, Cameron. How would you, I know you think Trump's going to win. You feel very strongly. What does he have to do now in the last 40 days?
He's doing exactly the right thing. He's returning to Pennsylvania. He's spending time with Pennsylvania, talking about the fracking issue. Let's not forget the Electoral College that will dictate this election. And Pennsylvania has, I believe, 19 electors. So I think he's doing the exact right thing that he should be doing, getting out there, talking to people, fielding questions, getting out to the rallies, he's actually going to go to a McDonald's and cook fries, the place that Kamala Harris lied about. He's going to be doing this in the near future. I can't wait to see that. He's doing all the right things right now. We just got to stay course and protect our man.
Hey, Cameron, thanks for joining me today. I know you were supposed to be in studio, but due to the technical difficulties, we'll be back next Thursday, and I know David will be with us next Thursday. Special shout out to Austin, our producer. Pinch hit at the last minute. Great job, Austin. Thank you. And Jessica, hopefully she survived the tornado okay and be back tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow on Election Edge, folks.